I'm going to go ahead and call the November 22nd meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please observe a moment of silence.
You going to say something about Mayor Wilson?
Yes, go ahead. You need to say something?
Yeah, I'm just saying.
Okay.
Last week, for y'all that know, Mayor Wilson lost his sister unexpectedly. So as anybody knows, if you lose a family member, that's really tough. So if you would keep him and their family in your thoughts and prayers, it would be appreciated. That's all I have.
Okay. Well, then I'll go ahead and mention that Charlie Hill, who was a long-term member of the Port Authority, passed away on Sunday evening as well.
I saw
so
that.
Keep the family in
Good
your
man.
thoughts, please.
Good man.
Thank you. Okay, thanks. Thank you. Okay. We'll now do the roll call, beginning with Commissioner Doug Smith.
Here.
Commissioner Stephen. Here. Commissioner Culberson.
Here.
Commissioner Mike Smith.
Here.
And I'm Vicki Cos, and I'm here as well. We do not have any agenda item public comment today, so we'll move on to administrative business.
Commissioners, just to try to keep ahead of things, we do have a appointment on the Port Authority that is expiring in December. We have not reached out to this person to see if they wanted to serve again, but wanted to ask you if you want us to advertise it like we normally do, or simply put that on for renewal if the person's willing to serve. Your discretion.
That's your appointment, correct? Mr. Shimke?
Oh, yeah.
I believe he is. For Pacer.
Whatever the board wants to do, I'm hoping he would consider continue serving. If not, we'd have to say Chad has to do it.
We could reach out to him
Well,
again.
that's not
No,
the
I know.
one that's
No, he does a great job. I mean,
I'm probably going to see him this afternoon. You want me to ask him if he wants to rerun before we post it? Or
Commissioner Culberson has the opportunity to visit with Mr. Shimke. You might just formally offer him a reappointment. If he doesn't wish to be reappointed, he can inform Commissioner Culberson and we can proceed to advertise the position.
Next time. Okay.
Then I would move that we offer Doug Shimke to do another term on the Port Authority.
second.
a motion and a second. Begin voting with Doug's.
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay. Any other administrative business before us today?
I just had one.
Go ahead.
Just wanted to recognize that Alliance Against Family Violence and CASA both received federal grant
Saw that.
awards. I believe, what was it, $121,000 for the Alliance and $135 for CASA.
That's great.
So I think that's great. I mean, these grants are very competitive. They're tough to get. Anybody that gets these grants, they're working very hard to do this, and I think it shows what kind of staff they have.
Yeah.
That's great.
I agree.
That's all I had.
Okay. Mr. Stephen?
A couple items, just a question, maybe the administrator could fill us in on what we've been getting a lot of emails from the Easton area about the Flatlands situation. Can you just bring us up to date on that?
Well, Commissioners, I think you've all received probably the similar emails of a few people complaining again about the smell and smoke from Flatland. My understanding is that KDHE went out there last week to inspect it based on those complaints that they also received. And I believe they were out there on Thursday to follow up, and they're aware of it, and they informed me that they are in communication with the owner.
And I do have there's a correspondence with some constituents from a district representative, and I want to read this to you and find out your understanding of the facts. Dear Molly, KDHE closed them down approximately 5 months ago. The closing of the facility has backfired. There is no one there to even work on the problem of covering existing debris, etc. Nor is the owner allowed to fix the issues that closed them down, which was not the smell, gases, or type of debris, but that it was too high on one side and the slope on one side of the hill. I anticipate it will get increasingly worse as the rain and erosion continue to open it up to debris underneath. When it was covered and things were getting better, per yourself and others closed the landfill, the owner was working on putting 3 foot of earth over the top of the debris all across the hill. I will check to see if maintenance to ensure things remain covered, if even allowed by the owner, under the cease and desist that KDHE served on them. And that's signed by Representative Lance Neely. Can you tell me if that's approximates the truth?
Well, Commissioners, I don't work for KDHE and I don't enforce their rules. However, the cease and desist was that they could no longer accept more refuse, whatever waste they were receiving. That doesn't alleviate them from being responsible and making sure that the landfill is covered appropriately. The same regulations still apply even without them taking new waste. They have to stay in compliance with their license, which requires cover, requires erosion control, requires that they have until January 18th per the cease and desist to either get into compliance with their current permit, apply for a new permit, or come up with some other solution that is acceptable. But no, there's still people working out there. As far as I'm aware, Mr. Britz is aware of his responsibilities, and the KDHE is monitoring it as well. And
so just to underline, they are supposed to be ameliorating the situation at the landfill, the current owners. They are not just hands off.
That is correct. The cease and desist order, if you recall, mandated to them that they had 6 months to come up with a plan. January 18th, I think, is that date, to come up with a plan to get in compliance with their permit, or a closure plan, I think, is what they actually were ordered to do. So they have to come up with a closure plan. That closure plan basically means the remediation that's required by law has to be. They have to have a plan to complete that in a time limit.
So, thank you. That's all.
As we're on that, did our third party ever do an inspection out there?
That is still underway.
Okay.
And just to touch on what Commissioner Stevens said, so I reached out to KDHE after the last couple of weeks the smell had been getting worse. I went by there and the smoke from the spots that they call them hot spots where they'll leak back through the dirt. That's been getting worse the last couple of weeks. So I reached out to KDHE, told them they were going to do a site inspection. They're going to get back with Mark. And then I asked them if we could do a community meeting, and they agreed to that, but they want to wait in about a month. They're supposed to have some deadlines met by Flatland, so they're kind of waiting for those deadlines to decide what's going to happen. So we're just kind of waiting on that.
Bottom line, they could still be making certain that they are in compliance with any erosion control or anything that might be in non-compliance with the permit itself. And if they have just walked away from it, that's on them. That is not correct, as far as I'm concerned.
No, that's why I wanted to raise it.
They still have legal obligations to maintain that. The landfill, even though they're not taking new waste, they still have to make sure that their current waste is in compliance. And again, as far as I'm aware, the owner is aware of that and working on that. And KDHE has also been in contact with them to make sure that they are doing what they're required to do.
Jeff's turn.
Jeff, did you have something you wanted to?
No, I was just going to ask you if you're ready for it.
I just got two things. First of all, I want to wish Commissioner Stephen happy birthday, 29 again. Also, and I think we've talked about this before, and I just wanted to, and maybe y'all have already thought about it. I think putting the letter out when we sent our bill out was one of the brightest things that we've done. Because what it does is it lets people know out there what exactly a better understanding where their taxes are going. You know, you can put it in the paper, and I get the paper. You can put it on the county newsletter. But when you have that property bill coming in, you read what's in that package. So I just like to think that maybe every year, at least, we could put an information item out there, not asking for a vote, not leading one way or the other, but just put an information letter in the packet every year that it goes out, so people can see what's going on, and gives them an opportunity to ask questions of legislators or us or whoever it may be.
I agree 100% because there's some legislation this year that's probably going to impact the locals.
And there's
that
several
needs to be in the letter.
Yeah.
And there's several things that contribute to high taxes. That's just one of them. The LABTR is just one of them.
Yeah.
Right.
It by itself isn't going to fix the high tax problem, but it'll help a lot. But I think that's exactly
what
the
the
plan.
letter said.
Yeah.
And I think that's the plan is each year when we send something out to just inform the public, here's another reason
Yeah.
why your taxes are high in Leavenworth County.
I think it helps people.
Because they just
Not
don't
a very
know.
pleasant Christmas letter, but it is.
Yeah.
But it's factual, and it needs
But it's what's going on.
That's exactly right.
And most people didn't know about it. So speaking about that, I've got all the emails caught up. I'm still working on phone calls. So,
Okay, great.
but
Thanks for
I should
telling
have
me,
the
Jeff.
phone calls caught up by tomorrow, probably.
And I took your letter to Seneca and passed it around the table. So
And
we'll
Commissioners,
talk about that later.
There are several times throughout the year where we're required to send items out to folks, so it doesn't cost that much additional to insert a letter. So we'll try to coordinate to give time for the board to come up with what content they want in those letters, but there's at least 3 times a year where we're sending something out pretty much to every
Yeah, Mark, but I think it's important.
tax parcel.
I think it's important it comes with that bill, because everybody's looking forward to that. So
Well, most of the
that's
stuff
one
we
thing.
send out is going to be
The
related.
appraisal
But
in
even
March
those
would be.
appraisal
That's
in
good.
March is
Well, that's another- that's another
your
good one.
appraisals are coming through.
I just think it's good
I
information.
think it should be, we always send something.
And
I do
that's
too.
also a good time because then the legislature has been in session
Yeah.
for
Yep.
several months, and
And 90% of the people that I'm talking to had no idea about this.
That's right.
So
Right.
No matter how hard we tried.
that
That's
makes
why
it-
this letter.
That makes it worth it right
Yep.
there.
And in this March communication, I think this is really great because it's the openness and transparency thing. But the March letter, we could include a dollar bill representing your property taxes and what percentage each governing municipality or subdivision represents. Because I think the vast majority of people, although we've talked about this for 5 years,
Still think that we collect the money, we get all the money.
and that we control the appraiser's office across the hall. And that's,
I've got a diagram we can use for that me and Fred Hope created in 1992.
That was
Trying
Yeah.
to explain to people. Yeah,
is that, I mean,
we
that's
can use that again.
really important. And I did want to raise one other issue, this communication that we had received about the outside agency policy. I don't feel like we should be putting the Port Authority in the middle of that. I think the outside agency policy is what it is, but I don't think we should put the Port Authority in the middle of that. So I would suggest that we route the LCDC money directly from the commission to LCDC so that the policy is direct, so we don't have to be going through a third party.
That's a private organization.
Well, the funding used to come
I
directly
know,
from the
and we
commission.
quit it because it was a private organization.
I know, but in order that we don't put the Port Authority in the middle of this issue of our outside agency policy, Mark, can you address how that your view of how that would be enforced right now? Like, if it went to Port Authority, then that money would not necessarily
Well,
as fungible money.
in my opinion, Commissioner, the way it works is, as directed a few years ago, the request for funding for economic development is directly through the Port Authority, and all the money goes to the Port Authority. Once they receive the money from the county, then that's no longer, our policies no longer apply to that money. That is then the Port Authority's money, and that group determines how the funds are distributed. Is that the question you're asking?
Right, and basically what I'm saying is we have a policy that we've established, and we don't really want to make the Port Authority have to decide if they're going to enforce that or not. We have to directly enforce that ourselves because
Enforce
that's
what?
policy we've established on the outside agency funding policy. So if we don't want to put the Port Authority in a bad position of having to enforce our rules.
I have probably the opposite opinion of that because I'm trying to leverage keeping the Port Authority. We're the only one of 2 counties that still have a Port Authority left. So
And it's
my idea of doing that in the first place was
And
to
it's a
try to make them
quasi-governmental.
have more of a stronghold than they did.
Quasi-government agency.
Well, I'm all for the Port Authority. I'm not saying that.
Right.
What I mean, and there's another route to take on this policy is to add a proviso that third-party organizations have to comply with our policy. But it would be easier to not put the Port Authority in the position of having to decide if our policy is going to be enforced or not.
I don't think that, have they expressed, I haven't heard that they've expressed that as a concern, and I think that it puts an organization that we have appointed members to in a position of making decisions on how the funding that we are putting toward economic development is expended. And if their decision is to fund and provide funding to the LCDC, that's okay. But they're also in a position where they could use funding to fund a different type of venture. And then I thought by consensus, we had a decision to let them form a committee and look at different avenues and ways of funding the Port Authority. And that was my understanding when we left the work session.
Mike, are you trying to get at the point, maybe I'm way ahead on this, are you trying to get out at the point about representation on the Port Authority? Is that coming to that?
Mark, could you kind of, for the public that's watching, could you kind of outline what our outside agency policy requires?
Sure, I'll try to remember all the points in it. But during the budget process this year, the Board of County Commissioners approved a policy that requires outside agencies that receive funding in certain amounts have to abide by certain rules. One, they have to be nonprofit, or in like the case of the Port Authority, they're quasi-governmental, so they don't have a nonprofit per se, but they are quasi-governmental. They have to agree to have their funds audited if required by state. The state has a threshold where you have to meet a certain amount of income, and if you have received that amount of income, you have to have an audit. You have to provide countywide services to receive the funding. I'm missing one. Banking. You have to have your banking. You have to have your banking done in the county.
Right.
And if over a certain percentage of your total budget comes from the county, then the county must have representation on any executive board.
So that's what my intentions are, that we are trying to make sure that our representation is on the executive board of any nonprofit agency, which would be LCDC. Now, you can go about it. We can leave the funding going to the Port Authority and change our policy that says any funds that are fungible and pass-through funds still require that they comply with the outside agency policy. That would be one route, or the other route would be to go ahead and route the funds directly to LCDC, and then they have to comply with the policy. So the discussion here is really to get the compliance with our own policy.
I personally disagree with the policy of representation on executive board, so
We just passed this policy in August. I don't think we need to tweak it yet.
Yeah. So, commissioners,
We're not
probably 2 years ago. I'm thinking it was 2 years ago. We used to give the funding directly to, a portion went directly to the LCDC, and another portion went to the Port Authority. The Port Authority then passed that through to the LCDC for the most part. Some of it is for their operations, obviously. And then I think 2 years ago, the board decided that the money would go through the Port Authority. So if what you're saying is you're wanting to split it back out to where a portion continues to go to the Port Authority, but a portion also goes directly to the LCDC?
That would be one route. What I'm trying to get at is that I want them to comply with our outside agency policy. I don't want us to give the money to the Port Authority and then they get around our policy simply by.
Well, let me answer this. If that's the policy, we don't want to be like. Then we need to follow the policy, or we need to change it. We've accused, or not accused, yeah, we have, of other entities not following their policy. If we got that on the books, we either need to follow it or we need to go back in and change it. And I don't have a problem.
And I don't think you should change it in less than 4 months. We just passed it in August, I believe.
But we need to enforce it. We can't just give money to the Port Authority and then they pass through the money to LCDC and not put a person.
This would need to be handled at budget time.
And yes,
if you're going to budget and give LCDC money,
this is our policy. This is just trying to. I mean, if Port Authority would give the money to LCDC and not comply with this policy, they are just working around our policy.
You were saying that that's what they're doing, and do you have proof of that?
I did not say that's what they're doing. I'm saying I don't want that to happen, so I think we need to establish policy.
I disagree.
So if they gave the money to Tonganoxie to build 222nd, would we get on Tonganoxie's boards?
That's not the issue. The issue is
if the Port Authority gives the money, if they gave money to the something
I think you're opening
Tongan.
a can of worms that you don't want to open, Commissioner Stephen. And
No,
I think that
I'm not. I want to enforce our own
given
policy.
trust. We have a Port Authority. There are members appointed to the Port Authority who represent Leavenworth County. There are also members that represent all of the other jurisdictions, or major cities within the county. And we have entrusted them, and we have said that we trust you to make appropriate decisions with the funding that we provide to you.
In compliance with our policies. And we made a policy that if a nonprofit organization gets money from the county, that if they meet a threshold, that they're going to put someone on their executive committee representing the county. That is our policy that we adopted. So all I'm saying is we follow our policy.
Or we change it. If that's the policy, I'm getting back and forth. I understand both sides. My thing is a little different. I don't want to have a policy we're not following. If we do have one that we disagree with, then we go back and fix it to what the county commissioners want, which is what I'm hearing both sides. But policies need to be followed, because when you don't start following policies, it looks kind of funny. So we need to change the policy to go make it where Port Authority can do what you're saying. I have no problem with that. But policies have to be followed, or either they have to be changed or removed. We don't want to amend it and send it down the road every year.
Right.
And that's
but we made this policy, and it took a very long time. It was a couple years coming to get to that policy. Yeah. We established that policy. So I guess the main thing is
it was also a couple of years or longer than that coming that we made changes to the Port Authority that were significant changes to the Port Authority, and that we have, in my opinion, we have established a platform for the Port Authority to function and to function properly and to have representation across the county.
So I agree with that.
But then you're trying to micromanage how the Port Authority does their job, and I don't think that's appropriate.
Well, I'm not micromanaging. I'm just saying enforce the policy that we have on the books, and the policy is that if you send county funding to LCDC, then they need to place, if they hit a threshold, they need to place a representative of the county on the executive committee. That's all I'm saying. Follow the policy we have.
I'm sorry, but I think it's disingenuous of you, Commissioner Stephen, because this was never an issue. It never bothered you that we did not have representation on every nonprofit board that receives 30% of funding from this organization, not one time before it was something that you were upset with LCDC. It was never an issue. You never insisted that we have representation on the Guidance Center Board of Directors. Where have you insisted on that?
We have a policy. We're not discussing those other issues.
No, I'm just saying, but you did. The only time that it came up, and when it came up, was with one single organization within the county, not for every organization that we fund through that are outside organizations.
Well, that's true, but that doesn't. I mean, but that doesn't have anything to do with the fact that if we send money from the county and we have a policy that says that you have to comply with our policy, and we send it over to the Port Authority, and we don't have any kind of a proviso on there, and then they send the money to LCDC and don't follow the county policy, then we're being disingenuous as well.
So are you asking for a consensus on the board, or are you asking for a motion?
I guess to get a consensus, I would.
It's not on the agenda, so we just.
Well, this is on the agenda because the county administrator sent it out as a discussion item. I would move that the county, that funding for the Port Authority be be required to follow the policy currently in effect if it is given to a third party.
That's a motion.
Yep.
You need a second?
Well, I'm going to second just because I believe not in the difference of what's going on here, but in that I want everyone to follow our policy or change it back to the way it was and do it the way we used to do, which is fine with me.
Right.
I don't care, Mike. I'm not agreeing with you. Really, I just think you got a policy.
This is the policy we made.
Then change it back to the way it was or whatever the group wants to do, but just follow it. It's not.
But the policy doesn't say if once you get the money, it doesn't say that if you distribute it out somewhere else that you got to be on their executive board.
But that's what this motion clarifies.
Well, and Doug, I'm not going.
The policy now we're operating on doesn't say that.
Well, I'm not going with that. To me, I'm just talking about the policy in general.
Right. Because we made the policy.
Well, there is no executive board at the Port Authority.
I'm looking for where it was a discussion item.
Well,
but if we don't follow our policy, then it's just, you might as well not have it.
I didn't see that we weren't following it.
Well, that's what we're talking about. That's why we have the motion on the floor.
Mark, are we or are we not following the policy? I hate to put you on the spot, or Doug. It's like
Commissioners, this is why I sent you all the information that I sent, and I do believe we're following the policy, and I just wanted to make sure that I'm interpreting the policy as intended.
Okay.
And that's what I called out. And
Okay.
it's not on this week's agenda. I said if I hear by next week.
Right.
So
It is. That's why I said it's not on.
Because I just sent it out
But,
yesterday.
but this motion is to clarify.
Okay, have a motion. Any further discussion?
So your motion, could you repeat that? That you're just wanting clarification?
No, the motion is that
Well, you said
any
it's just
money-
Be
clarified.
required that the Port Authority be required to follow.
the outside agency policy. And that's the
I
motion.
think they are.
Well, that's why I asked
They
the
don't have an
question.
executive
They're-
board.
Mike, we
The
just
Then
told
you
they
said
were.
if they give the money.
They're
to
not
the
going to
third
follow.
party.
This would clarify that they have to follow the outside agency policy, any pass-through money. So
But that's
they
not
don't
our
just
policy.
give the money. You don't just give the money over to the Port Authority, and then they don't have to follow our policy, and they can just give it to LCDC by not following our policy. This just
But I
clarifies.
thought we just asked, were they following our policy? We just asked.
But this clarifies that the money they have to follow our policy.
I'd rather discuss this some other time. Without being told it's following the policy, I'm not in on either side of this. I just want the policy followed. So if I'm being told it follows the policy, then I'm okay.
But if that's the clarification here is that if the money goes to the Port Authority, and we have a policy on outside agencies, what the argument is, they're saying that money the Port Authority can then give the money to the LCDC and not comply with the outside agency policy, not put a county representative on the board, and therefore they don't have to follow the policy. This is just like a workaround, and that's not right.
But they are following the policy because there's nothing in the policy that
Counselor,
says
you-
about passing money to a
But
third party.
but it's just a workaround.
Commissioners,
Just like
they
they're
are
trying to
following.
work around the
So
policy.
you
They are
argue
following
for
our
the
policy. What your motion is attempting to do is make the Port Authority, which is not a part of the county, follow our policy to applying it to other entities.
When using
that's
our
the
funds.
Oh.
I mean, we made the policy. If you're not going to have the policy that's enforceable, then what use is a policy?
Counselor?
Commissioners, if I might offer a suggestion, I believe your county administrator intends to put this matter on the agenda, if not next week, shortly thereafter. And prior to that, your staff could provide you perhaps some information on the
I like
issue
that.
Commissioner Stevens has raised, so that you could discuss it with a little more forethought.
So you need to withdraw your second, withdraw your motion.
I withdraw my second.
Because I was going to abstain anyway, because I haven't done any homework on this.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
So this will be on the agenda for next week, or in a couple weeks?
A few weeks.
Will be on the agenda when you requested it be on the agenda. I
Okay.
was not intending to put it on the agenda because I thought it was pretty clear, but that's why I asked.
It's up to you.
Because it's the first time we've.
I don't think it is. I think that
Put a
we have.
consensus on it.
I think this is the first time we've had this policy be enforced. That's why I asked you to make sure I was interpreting it correctly. But I could put
Right.
it on next week. I can't put it on next week because the short week, the agenda's actually already done. So it'd have to be the week after.
You know, just to have it spelled out clear, I don't like putting it on the agenda either, but just to have it spelled out clear for the Port Authority, for us, for LCDC and everybody else, it might be something just to talk about. Mark, you've told me it doesn't violate the policy, so I'm fine. That's all I had to hear. But if y'all want to get more detail to have everybody listen on it, because I don't want people to think we're going behind the scenes and doing something that we're not. All I'm trying to say is I want to follow wherever the county commissioner's policy is, period.
We are.
And it
Port Authority is
appears-
a quasi-government
Yeah,
agency.
The
So-
consensus is that we are.
Yeah.
So you say we are following the policy, so would it be following the policy, in your opinion, if the money goes to Port Authority and then they distribute it to LCDC and they don't comply with the outside agency policy? Would that be following policy?
Or we could
If you
put this
want on that
next-
board so bad, why don't you donate your own money
Hey,
to the platinum?
this is not a
level?
personal issue. Please
It
don't
is
do it.
personal
No,
with
it's
you
not.
and LCDC.
No,
You're
it's
on that board
no,
so bad.
No, it's not, Doug Smith. It's not. There's
Well, I'm
nothing to
not
do
the
with
one making the
that.
argument.
I want us to follow our own policy.
Receiving the funding through
We
a
need to-
quasi-government agency.
It's the
We need to go ahead, we need to, is there a second?
I withdrew
There was
my
a
second.
withdrawal from the second, so is there another
so
second?
we're just
asking?
putting it on the agenda for 2
Well,
weeks.
let's finish with the business that we have with the motion that was put before us, and then we
I thought
can,
we're withdrawing that motion.
okay, that motion is withdrawn officially.
And now, do you want
Okay,
consensus
now,
whether to put it on
do we
the
want a consensus I'll look for a consensus as to whether or not to place it on the agenda in 2 weeks? Is there a consensus?
No.
Well,
I don't care either way. So
Well, I think it certainly should be discussed.
We discussed it.
Jesus, Mike.
Well, we have someone that is not going to vote one way or the other. We have
So
a
it's be
cons-
2-2, it's
which
going to
it
fail
means no.
anyway. Yeah,
It won't be placed on the agenda.
yeah.
Okay, so just
That's the consensus.
what has happened here is that we have a policy on the books. What's going to happen is we're going to appropriate the money. It's going to go over to the Port Authority. And the Port Authority then will have the ability to send the money to LCDC and not comply with our rules and place someone on the executive committee from representing the county, which was the intent of the original policy. So that's exactly what's going to happen. Just realize that by the action we're taking here, the policy is hypocritical and it means nothing.
To you,
To you.
in your
But
opinion.
it is because
In your
you're not.
opinion, that is what it says.
But what does
Okay.
it mean if you have a
What if
policy
they
that
don't-
you're not going to enforce?
What if they don't give the money to LCDC and they give it to someone
Well,
else? Are you going to
well-
try to get on their board too?
I'm not interested in being on any board, Mr.
Okay.
Smith, and I don't know why you bring that up like that.
Because that's all
I
you
think
want to
that-
talk
I
about,
think-
being on their
No,
executive board.
that's,
I think
that is not. I want
It's
Tom.
the rest of us want to be on
It's-
Guys,
Mr.
okay.
No,
Cole
we
is who I
have-
want to be on the
okay.
We beat this to
executive
Well,
death. Let's go.
We've had, I agree.
I thought we was going to have
have-
the shortest meeting on all
Well, we're,
this today.
okay.
I was
Well,
wrong.
we're wrong. You were wrong. There we go. Now,
Are you ready for a motion on the consent agenda?
yes, please.
Please.
Motion for the
Madam
consent
Chair, I
agenda.
move that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
A motion is second. Begin voting with Doug Smith.
Aye.
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 Well done there. Okay. Formal board action. Let's consider a motion to accept
Morning, Bill.
bid by Reese Construction for the replacement of Bridge A60 on 215th Street. Welcome, Bill.
Welcome. Today for your consideration is the low bid by Reese Construction for the replacement of A60 Bridge on 215th Street. 215th Street is a dead-end road. It does have about approximately 4 homes north of that bridge structure. It is our last remaining wooden bridge structure in the county. It has been repaired several times and is in bad need of repair. The Public Works Department bid the bridge replacement project utilizing a KDOT low-cost bridge design standard. The process allows for the bidding of a project without initial design being completed, which saves approximately $75,000. The contractor is required to work with an engineer to get the required DWR permits for the project, and the contractors were required to bid 50-foot piles with a price per foot if the depth were to exceed that amount. There was not geotechnical work completed on this project. This is not a turnkey project. This is specifically intended to be the absolute lowest cost bridge replacement project that you can complete in the county on a road that gets approximately 10 to 12 vehicles a day. It does require the county crews to backfill the structure after it's completed. We are going to build the new bridge to the east of the existing bridge, leaving the existing bridge open during construction in order for those homes to get in and out of. And so anytime you do a process that is the lowest cost, you incur some potential risks in order to achieve that low cost. So I want to be clear here today about a few things. We do not have the geotechnical information resulting in an unknown substructure detail. We do lack the road design. It is a gravel road, a very low volume gravel road, but we did not design a profile grade or any type of information to tie into. We do have to backfill the structure ourselves and remove the existing structure after the completion of the project. The existing structure is not a complicated structure to remove. Probably wouldn't take more than a day and just to haul it off. It's not a concrete structure that we have to beat apart or anything like that. This is the first project I have completed and contracted a number of these type of turnkey design projects that have secondary county work on the back end of them. This would be the 7th one that I've done, but this is the first one that Reese Construction has been the low bidder on. So Reese Construction, I know they did receive pricing from Husker Steel. Husker Steel has been the steel supply contractor for Norfolk Crane, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, in the past out of Nebraska. And I think there is going to be a continued interest by contractors in moving into this space. KDOT has a local bridge program that does allow for $150,000. It is the way we did the bridge in Kickapoo Township last year. That was completed by Norfolk Crane Company. So I believe that they will use the same process as what they have conveyed to us, and they will be using the same engineer that Norfolk would have. It's just the installation cost was $10,000 difference. They are, familiar with building this type of structure. I have contracted with other counties to complete box culvert structures with Reese Construction. So they are familiar with this type of work, and they do work all over the Midwest on these types of projects. I wouldn't recommend this type of process on any high volume roads, but when we have a location where the cost benefit analysis or looking at the replacement of the bridge and the cost to the taxpayer is not offset by the number of homes that it's serving or the service that it offers the public, is very minimal, then it is a good option. They do have 12 months to complete it. The contract requires it to be done by the end of next year. Generally, these things, these type of projects last approximately 60 days, 30 days to construct it, 28 days for the concrete to cure, and then we backfill the structure and reopen the road. So they are a very short turnaround. This road may be under construction for approximately 90 days by the time we backfill the structure. If you have any questions or concerns, I'd be happy to try to address this.
Got a place to borrow dirt down there?
I will probably bring it from the Tonga Quarry.
Okay.
The new structure is 50 foot, and the existing structure is only 25. The creek is widened. That's part of the issue with the existing bridge. But we will have a stockpile of dirt just on either head wall as we move the road over that we can use some of, and then we'll have to cut new ditches. And so there will be dirt from the site as well.
It's not good dirt.
It's not good
It's all
dirt.
silt from flooding. There's the wetlands there on the west side. Does that require additional permits?
No, this is just in the floodplain, so we'll just have to get our stream obstruction permit. There's not a no-rise certification requirement. Even if there was no-rise certification, we won't have any rise. The beams are going to be thicker than the existing bridge structure, but the structure is wider, so our opening of the structure is going to increase just slightly, but within that allowable range from Division of Water Resources.
It's your area, Commissioner Stevens.
So the residents that use this are going to be glad they don't have to bend the nails over every couple months.
Probably.
Yep.
Every one of them carries a hammer in their trunk because they know every couple months they got to bend the nails over.
60 penny.
They're big.
Timbers aren't that big.
They're in really good shape.
We replaced them.
It's just still a wood bridge.
So I move that we accept the bid by Reese Construction for replacement of Bridge A60 on 215th Street.
Second.
Motion and a second. Begin voting with Commissioner Doug Smith.
Aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Now we need to consider a motion to approve a contract for the 2024 trap rock delivery with New Frontier Materials.
Commissioners, this has been before you on numerous occasions. As you guys recall, the cost of haydite increased at a much faster rate than the county could fund, and so that we came to a point where we had to make a decision on whether we reduce the miles of maintenance of chip and seal that we complete yearly, or we needed to look at other types of aggregates in order to do the cover material for that chip and seal. This material is coming out of a quarry over in the St. Louis area. It comes in on the rail. They do already have 1,500 tons on the ground in Kansas City. The contract that before you here today requires delivery of that before the spring of 2024, when we would start chip and seal season with penalties if they don't deliver. But it has been reviewed by council and approved of, and we've worked through all the details of that.
We've talked about it for a while.
Any questions?
Yep.
I know.
They did their test mile, and it looks good.
Any further?
I move that we approve a contract for 2024 trap rock delivery with New Frontier Materials.
Second.
Motion and a second. Begin voting with Doug Smith.
Aye.
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 Aye. Motion
Thank you,
carries.
Commissioners.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you, Bill.
Thanks.
All right.
Hey, Bill. Congratulations. Chilly winter.
Oh, Well,
Hey,
Aaron, I gotta give Aaron credit.
the chili cook-off.
Yeah, I only took second. ATM. I'm sorry, Madam Chair. Go ahead.
Okay, we're going to move on to presentations and discussions. We have Sheriff Dedeke with us today.
Morning, Sheriff.
Welcome.
Okay.
So the purpose of this presentation is to present an awareness level of this opportunity that we have, in part because I'll be using a county resource and a organization that this board helps to fund partly. So, in recent years, the Kansas Attorney General has sued pharmaceutical companies, specifically with their practices in the production and pushing of synthetic opioids. This has been a widely abused, and the product has been widely abused, which has resulted in a nationwide problem from the largest cities to the smallest cities. And yes, it's even every corner of Leavenworth County. Kansas Fights Addiction Act has been codified in KSA under Chapter 75, and it's funded from the settlements that Kansas has received as part of this. Kansas will receive $340 million over an 18-year period, with those funds designated to fight the epidemic, either through treatment or education. The Kansas Fights Addiction Grant Review Board has been established to consider and approve grant requests for programs to prevent, reduce, treat, and mitigate substance abuse and addiction. And the Sunflower Foundation is the organization which has been identified to provide the administrative support for the grants. Earlier this year, an application was submitted on behalf of the Sheriff's Office for project funds to help address this issue, particularly as it relates to the criminal justice system. Recently, we were notified that this project had been selected and that we are the recipient of $199,226 in funding to be awarded throughout the period of January 1st, 2024 through December 31st, 2024. The scope of this work will essentially be a three-part. One will be the completion of sequential intercept mapping, and this will allow all criminal justice practitioners in our community, as well as community partners, to identify, by working together, strategies that will help divert people with mental illness and substance abuse disorders away from the justice system and into appropriate treatment. And for our purposes, our partners include local law enforcement, the courts, community corrections, community mental health providers such as the Guidance Center. The second part is to establish a justice-involved behavioral health liaison position to serve individuals in custody of the Leavenworth County Jail who are struggling with substance use disorder, opioid use disorder, and may have co-occurring mental health disorders. And the third arm of this is to increase community awareness and education by collaborating with them. Awarded funds will support the staffing of the liaison position, the SIM workshop. They'll provide for medications, supplies, equipment, and services for those that are in custody of the Leavenworth County Jail. The primary partnership will occur between the Sheriff's Office, the Guidance Center, and Community Corrections as we collaborate with the Leavenworth County Mental Health Advisory Council. Our goal is to reduce recidivism related to opioid and substance use and co-occurring mental health disorders, and at the same time to increase public safety. So how will this be accomplished? We will expand the public awareness of the drug overdose epidemic and available resources. We'll expand prescription medication disposal awareness, otherwise known as drug takebacks. The Sheriff's Office currently has 2 permanent sites, one at the Justice Center, one at the Annex, and then we participate several times a year with a regional drug take back. an example of how we can expand this, but perhaps have a third permanent site placed at the Council on Aging. Engage in community level strategic planning. We'll enhance our partnerships with behavioral health providers and prevention providers, and work closer with schools and different coalitions with the focus of drug awareness. We will screen for fentanyl in routine clinical testing. So as individuals come into the jail to be booked, we will continue screening them. Enhance public safety collaboration with our community-based organizations. Implement standardized SUD screening, treatment, and care coordination, and provide for a continuity of services for those that are in the criminal justice system that are in need of help. Leavenworth County is the sole geographical focus of this grant. However, the specific population that we're aimed at are for the uninsured or the underinsured. The SPMI population, and that's the severe and persistent mentally ill individuals. In general, adults with behavioral disorders and those that have substance use disorder. Those that are justice involved individuals, as well as anybody that's in the justice system. And then at-risk individuals. Anecdotally, in 2023, 27% of everybody that's committed to the jail has fentanyl in their system, either standalone or as a poly drug. So it's a significant issue. And 27% of our population has a diagnosed mental health disorder. I would like to give my appreciation to the Guidance Center for their willingness to partner with us. And although that they've had a change of leadership, they have never wavered in their willingness to help us. That's very much appreciated. And I also like to thank Director of Community Corrections, Jamie Van Houten, who has been a stalwart supporter of this. She actually authored the grant and has volunteered to be the grant manager. So
no surprise.
Something wrong with her, but she's.
That's why I said no surprise.
She's a great resource for us, and I do want to bring attention to the work that she has done. So with that, don't need any action from the board. Again, this is just an awareness level presentation.
Hey, Sheriff, excellent job getting grants back. You talk about the awareness besides Jamie and the mental health folks. Will you have somebody assigned to reach out on this, or do you sit on the board, or how will that be implemented to get the information out that this is available now?
It'll be a multifaceted approach. Some of the ideas that we had battered around were something as simple as billboards. And there's our websites. There's partnering with the schools and the other.
Okay. Thank you. Good job.
So, Sheriff, are you familiar with Andy Burris? Have you met him?
Personal friends with Andy Burris.
Yeah. He lost his son, Cruz, fentanyl.
Yep.
I think this is really important what you're doing. I think it's just critical, and I really appreciate it.
Yep.
I'm really looking forward to getting all of the results and implementing the sequential intercept mapping project, because that is going to be an amazing tool for our community. So, and
it's been needed for some time.
Yes, and I really appreciate you and Jamie working toward receiving this grant. And there is an advisory board with the Guidance Center that is very active and a lot of participation community-wide, county-wide. So I think that this is going to be a very positive thing for our community, and I really appreciate you taking it on.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you, Sheriff.
Total up the grants that we received.
That's what I was thinking.
It's amazing.
That's what I was thinking.
I mean, with the Alliance and the CASA and now this grant.
Looks good in the newsletter, doesn't it? Or send
Well,
out.
it's just really good. This is really good news for our community, because we're really struggling as a community with addiction.
Percentages
and
are high.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's
You're right.
really great. Okay. Well, we don't have any more presentations, so let's go to kind of little round robin about.
Well, we all attended the legislative breakfast. I think that was good. And then Friday, I went to the Northeast Kansas official meeting in Seneca. That's it.
Went to the Economic Development luncheon downtown. The mayor of Tonganoxie was there, several people from Tonganoxie and the development corporations, and that was a good. I was not familiar with the Savannah Banana organization, but it's the head of that organization was the speaker, and it was very interesting. Went to the Tonganoxie City Council meeting, zoomed in on the Port Authority meeting, and those been pretty busy this week. And just one point of clarification from our earlier discussion. I do not want to be on any of these boards, but I do want Tom Cole, who is our economic development coordinator. I want him to be on the board. I want to have him plugged in and integrated into the economic development entities of the county, and that's what this is about.
He attends all the meetings.
We made a policy.
Okay, well, we've kind of beaten that horse, and thank you for clarifying that,
We've drowned
Commissioner Stephen. Anything else that you would like to share? Or we'll go to Commissioner Culbertson.
I don't have anything this week other than answering all the emails and
Well, we appreciate
Phone call.
that
We
so
do,
much.
absolutely.
That's
Thank you
not
for taking that on.
They're just
That's not a
about
small
caught
task.
the emails are all caught up.
Cool, thanks.
Madam Chair, I just have a couple. First of all, HR and everybody's involved in the chili cook-off, the county employees, excellent job. We got some excellent cooks down there. Hat off to Bill Knoll and Aaron for taking first place. On December 3rd, Lansing's mayor's Christmas tree lighting will occur at intermediate school at 6 p.m. Of course, Santa will be there. And I've heard this before, but I thought legislative breakfast was very well done this year, and a lot of good points made to legislators that concerns that we've had for a while. That's all I have, Madam Chair.
Well, let's see. Yesterday I did attend the Port Authority meeting, and then also the Workforce Partnership meeting, and one of the things that we received in our packet was the economic overview that
I haven't had a chance to look at that.
everybody looked at, and I think that Tom is going to look over it and kind of give us kind of a what does this mean to
Overview,
Leavenworth County type thing.
Yeah.
Let's see. I did the Kansas City Area Transit Authority meeting last Wednesday. On Friday, I went to the mayor's Christmas tree lighting and parade, and we did the chili, as you said, the chili cook-off. I want to thank you for participating
Thank
and
you.
entering chili. Even
Second
though you didn't-
place.
Second place is good, though. Second place is good.
I know, but
you got a little trophy
I
too.
got it.
So
It's
you
in
should
my
be
office.
happy. Okay.
It's in my office.
So
I'm
you
very
got your little
proud.
trophy.
A lot of hard work.
It was a lot of fun, and appreciate all of the people who came to judge.
Yeah, it was good. Good
That
time.
was really nice. And so I think that that's all that I have to offer. So if we don't have anything else,
Move to adjourn.
Second.
okay, beginning voting with
Aye.
you.
Hi.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you very much.